No, it's not a green light.
It's not a green light.
No, it's not green.
It's red. I thought it was red too.
She says it's not out.
Hello, hello? That good?
It's red too, okay. No, it's still not here.
It's not out. She says it's not out.
It's not on? Ours is. Hello? Is that good? Okay. It's on. Red light's on. We might have to share. How about this, we share?
Okay. Bob's is on. Yours is on.
All right. We'll share.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I mashed the button. It's not working. Mine's not working. I'm okay. Mine don't work. Got it.
Got it. Ready? It's not on. Ready? That worked. Sorry about that. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Public Services and Development Committee to order at 5:05 p.m., Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. We have invocation by Councilman Swearingen.
Okay. Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for life that we live, Lord. We thank you for loving us, and we love you. Be with us as we do this, the county's business today with this ordinance, Lord. Give us the strength to know what is right and what is wrong, and is best for the animals and the people of this county. Lead, guide, and direct us in the right way, if it be thy will, Lord. We ask in your precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Swearingen. Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
So move.
I second it.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That would be 3-0. I forgot about asking any opposed, but I didn't have any. Thank you. Ordinance change discussions, recommendations. This is ordinance number 810, an ordinance to amend and restate ordinance number 737 to establish the rules and regulations pertaining to the animal control in Fairfield County and revise Chapter 4, Animals of the Code of Ordinances, Fairfield County, South Carolina. I'd like to turn this meeting over to Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, committee members. This first came about just looking at the animal ordinance and just having a discussion, not necessarily tonight making any final changes. So we took into consideration just recently, about a month ago, in the Lake Watery area, a lady was jogging and two animals came off the property and attacked her. She had over 200 stitches. And the owner eventually signed over the dogs to be euthanized. And then it was probably several years ago, some of you may remember, at Mack Truck, a young man was walking on the sidewalk, and two dogs, not on a leash, with their owner, and they were not on their own personal property, on Mack Truck property, ran and attacked the gentleman. The owner at that time wanted to keep the dogs, and it was ruled that he could keep the dogs as long as he moved them out of the county. Even though during the evaluation process, a professional dog evaluator stated that the dogs were dangerous. This in no means is a reflection on our court system, but it spurred a conversation with staff to discuss basically, I think, Section 4-2C regarding any animals that attack our citizens or anybody, that it has to go before the magistrate court first, and then the magistrate court decides whether or not the animal is going to be euthanized or can the owner redeem the animal. So it spurred a conversation at first, and then after that we talked to Officer Childers, and he's going to chime in that with us, with administration, we were talking about, does it have to go to the court, or if they deemed vicious or dangerous to the point of these actions, would we have the right to euthanize? And then we found out later on it still has to be a due process, and I'm going to let Officer Childers talk about those specific points, and then we're going to move on after that to some other suggestions that were sent in by a citizen on some proposed changes to our ordinance. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Laura. Chairman, committee members, when this was brought to my attention the other day, I had some mixed feelings about it, so I reached out to a Ms. Janelle Gregory, who is the director of the Humane Society for here in South Carolina, and she has pointed me in the direction of our state statute. Our state statute, state law, section 47.3.760C, which states a dangerous animal may be ordered destroyed when the court's judgment the dangerous animal represents a continued threat of serious harm to humans and other animals. We think this shows the intent for due process prior to any destruction of an animal based on their behavior. She further sent me some sections that define what a dangerous animal is, which is 47.3.710, 47.3.730 also allows that an owner can keep a dangerous animal, showing that the legislature intends that not all dangerous animals should be destroyed. 47.3.750, the seizure and impoundment of dangerous animals, shows the legislator's intent to create a process for animals suspected of being dangerous to be seized and impounded. It does not authorize unilateral assessment and euthanasia of an animal if an animal control officer deems it dangerous. Then 47.3.760E outlines that the registration of dangerous animals by their owner clearly intends that some dangerous animals to be allowed in certain circumstances. So even if a dog has been deemed dangerous and the courts agree that the dog is dangerous, and if the courts allows the owner to continue ownership of that dog, it kind of outlines that that owner of that dangerous dog would then have to register that dog here in the county. Now, she did state that the Kershaw County ordinance, which is DIR 4.2 of dangerous or vicious animals, section C, it states that such animals shall not be euthanized unless the owner has surrendered the animal to the animal shelter and has completed and signed a surrender form, or until a hearing is held before an appropriate magistrate and the magistrate has determined that the animal should be euthanized. So I'm in agreement. I think the animals from Lake Wateree, the owner surrendered. And I think the animal shelter, y'all euthanize the dogs. I think that as long as the owner surrenders the dog and gives up all rights, then by all means, let's go ahead and do what needs to be done. But in the other cases, I think that we'd be in violation of state law if we decide to euthanize a dog just based on an animal control officer's opinion of the dog. Because one animal control officer might think the dog is vicious. I might come in there and play ball with it, and it might be friendly to me. So I think it's done an appropriate evaluation by someone who's trained in that field, make their opinion known, and we carry it before the judge and let the judge decide what action needs to be taken next. And I think that that would keep us in compliance with state law and would relieve us of any liability if the owner has awarded his dog back. And if it's already been euthanized, then I think the county is up for litigation. So.
Okay. I think one of the questions that I had, or issues or concerns that I think I had when it pertained to the incident several years ago, when the owner was allowed to get the dogs back, but with the stipulation you take them out of county. And I know there's nothing that we can pretty much do about it, but I basically had a concern since the dogs were evaluated and it was determined that they were dangerous. Are we basically telling the owner, yes, you can keep the dogs, but they have to go into another county? Are we putting other people at risk? Because it does not make the animal no less dangerous just because they're going out of the county. And so I don't know if that was something, and heaven forbid, I would hate for, something to happen with a child or just anybody. So that may be something that we really can't do anything about because it's not our determination, just like you said, and that would be up to the courts to make that decision. They keep the dogs, the animals, or they deem that it's dangerous and the judgment is euthanized. So.
Ms. Laura, yes, ma'am. That was actually my case that I worked on 321 at Mack Truck, and I was, as the one prosecuting that case, I was a little disappointed myself in it, but we have to honor what the judge says.
Yes.
And the state, our legislators gave the judge a way to handle that in section 47.3.730, that if the courts can allow the owner to keep the dangerous dog, but in return, we're gonna make some stipulations, maybe a concrete pad, a high fence, whatever stipulation that judge puts on it, that's what needs to be followed. And if it's not followed up on, I think we can go back and readdress that to the judge who issued that order to maybe reconsider.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we also have Bob Ennis, our animal control director. Do you have anything to add to this particular topic before we go to the other suggestions that were made?
Well, regarding the Rottweilers, I mean, that was, in my view, a crazy decision, but them dogs were extremely dangerous and very disappointed that the owner got them back, because all he's done is take them out of this county, and sooner or later it's going to be somebody else's problem. And as long as the county's covered, from our aspect of it, then so be it. That's all I've got to say about that.
Any comments from the members before I?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to see a problem pushed onto another county. That's not eliminating the problem. That's moving it on to somebody else, which I do not think is the right thing to do. I don't know how we can, in the case that you're referring to, where the judge rules that way, just doesn't make any sense. And I don't know, maybe we need to look at some other counties' ordinances and see if there's any other ideas there
Yes,
to
sir.
resolve this.
Or at least change our ordinance to a little bit more clarity, and put some additional stipulations, but we can look into that to see what else needs to be changed.
Are you saying that if the only thing we can do is let the judge decide? That we're going to be breaking the law if we don't let the judge decide?
Yes, ma'am. I do believe that's what our legislators have put in place with these state laws, is that it is up to a magistrate to determine what can happen to the dog. For instance, and like I explained earlier, if we as a county decide, all right, the dog is dangerous, we're going to put it down, and we'll go to court, and that individual wins his case, or even if he don't win the case, for the instance down at Mack Truck, the state won the case against that gentleman. He was convicted of the animals running at large, but the judge allowed the owner of those dogs to go back with the owner under these stipulations. If we would have put those dogs down prior to that court case and the judge ordered those dogs to come back to the owner, I believe the county would have been on the hook for several thousands of dollars for the cost of these dogs. That's how I read into it.
But if something happens and the owner surrenders them at that time, then they can be euthanized, and we're out. We're okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It just has to be if they won't surrender them, they bite somebody, they won't surrender them, then it has to go to the court.
Yes, ma'am. Then we would need to schedule a hearing before the court. If the dog is surrendered, like the ones up on Lake Wateree, they give up ownership of the dogs, then the county can do whatever they please with the dogs at that point.
Do we have anything else that we can go with? I mean, either they give them up and they're euthanized, or we can't do anything with them. A or B.
Yes, I mean, just like Officer Childers said, if they give them up, release them, surrender them, then they belong to the county. We can't euthanize the animals. But if not, yes, we still have to wait on the court to go through the courts, and we have to care for the dogs until the judge makes a decision. But if the owner does get the animals back, they do have to pay the county for the care of the animals for however many days, and that could be up to 30 days if need be, whenever is scheduled in court.
Okay.
Okay. Our next topic is we had a citizen turn in some documents to us to request us to look and review these documents. It's City of Aiken Animal Control Ordinance. It was, so I'm going to have Mr. Carrison actually talk about these recommendations that came from a citizen and how we can adopt some, or if not, adopt any, or his recommendation, because after all, he's over the animal control. He knows better than anyone the operation of it.
All right. Well, thank you. I've got these recommendations given to me to review, which some of them are very good recommendations, I think, that would be very good for this county once this county is in a position where it can actually enforce the items that are specified. And this is actually a city ordinance, not a county ordinance. It's actually the town of Aikens, or the city of Aikens ordinance, which is not the same as the county of Aikens ordinance. And after going into quite detail, actually, what actually goes on, the city of Aiken, their animals are picked up and they're taken to the SPCA centre that is in the city of Aiken. And the city of Aiken actually pay a sum of money each year to the county, which would be something like Winnsboro having their own animal ordinance and a place to take their animals that is not the county, which is completely different to what we do here. In the city's ordinance, it states that every animal should be fixed, every animal should be registered, and microchipped, etc., which is great. I think it's a really great idea. But to bring that into Fairfield County, I mean, personally, I feel we're not at that position at all, because there's no point in bringing in more laws into our ordinance if we can't enforce them. Aiken County has 6 animal control officers, 12 full-time staff and 15 part-time staff at their animal shelter. This county has got 4 staff completely, which is a director, 2 animal control officers and a secretary at the moment. We've had 2 job positions open since July of last year that we're trying to fill. We as a county, animal control, just would not be able to enforce if we brought these items in. I think they're great items, I really do. And I hope one day that the county reaches that. But at the moment, we're miles away. When I look at the funds that the City of Aiken are paying the county for taking their animals, it works out to be, at the beginning when they started it, around $120 per dog. What does Winnsboro contribute to Fairfield's animal control? I mean, we pick up animals or take animals from the town regularly. They've only just started to pay for the animals' spay and neutering that are not reclaimed. But I mean, everything comes out of the county budget. We're understaffed. We've been understaffed for the last 2 years, where we had to let our temps go. We struggle with overcrowding because we do not have a proper facility. It's great to build on things and make them better with stronger laws, registrations for dogs, but you've got to enforce it. There's no point in changing an ordinance if you can't enforce it, because an ordinance is a local law. So why are you having laws if you can't enforce them? I mean, that's my personal view. I mean, I know I'm going to upset people by what I say, but I look at it because I deal with it daily. It's extremely stressful and difficult. There's 4 members of staff in my department. We struggle every single day. We need a new facility. That'll be the first thing this county needs, and build on from there. And without that, you can change every law you want in the book, but if you can't enforce them, don't have them. It's not a nice thing to say, but it's the truth. We do need to have stronger laws. We do need to have animals as a law to be fixed. They do need to be microchipped so we know who they belong to when we pick them up. We do need to stop the breeding. That is so important for this county, because the overbreeding is the problem, because people do not care. But you can't change things to make them stricter unless we've got a plan. And our plan should be to build from the bottom all the way up, and then you can enforce tighter laws. But unless you've got a way forward, it's no good just changing things, because that's what we want to do. I'm bursting at the seams up the road with animals. Tough times are so tough now. They're not like they was a year ago. Every county in this state is jam-packed with animals. And some of them have got tight laws and some of them haven't. Our animal control ordinance is one of the best in this state, believe it or not. And everybody's in the same position. The problem with Fairfield is we don't invest in our department. I know people won't want to hear that, but I'm being honest. And until you do that, then you can build and change things to do with the ordinance to make it more stricter. There's no point having a real good ordinance if we haven't got enough staff to implement it. We call upon the Sheriff's Department so many times during a week to deal with what's going on with animals and things. I mean, they're short-staffed. I mean, we just need to, this county needs to rethink and do the right thing. And I know people ain't going to want to hear that because it involves money, but these things should have been done, in my opinion, years ago. When I first come here, there was a vision by the administration at the time, and I know that changed because people left and county councils changed, etc. But if we would have stayed on the right path, we wouldn't have such a problem what we got today. I mean, you know, it's no good going down there saying we should euthanise them all. I've got 20 dogs down here, which is the whole of one side of our kennels. The one across the road, they're all court case dogs. I can't do nothing with them until the people have been to court. And that could be another year. So Chris is telling me, is that not true?
Yes.
I mean, that's the reality of it. And if we enhance stricter laws, which I do believe should be done, I really do. What was given to me to review, I'm for all that, I really am. But until this county is in a position where we can enforce these things, which will incur us having more animals, where are we going to put them? I mean, I don't know where we put them.
Did I understand you to just say that all the ones across the road are waiting on a court case?
Across the road, it's built
over there.
for 22 dogs, and we've got 18 dogs to do with court cases. Animal abuse.
Okay, so did they all attack somebody?
No. No, it's to do with neglect and animal cruelty. But we can't move the animals until the person has been to court. Well, two people actually have been to court. And I spoke to Chris about it yesterday. I mean, one's at least 6 months away, and another case is going to be at least a year. Is that not true, Chris?
Yes, we currently have, I want to say, 8 dogs in a pending litigation right now of ill treatment of animals and dog fighting. And in another case, I think we had
11. Yeah.
Well, we brought 12 in, but one died in custody. So we have 11 dogs that criminal charges are pending for an individual for ill treatment of animals. Those dogs have to stay in custody until the case is disposed of. So yes, those dogs will stay inside the animal shelter until after the court dates.
So we need tougher laws for people who are doing that.
Ma'am, I believe the laws are good enough as it is. It's just that the court system has their process of the defendants have their due diligence and due process to have to go through, and we can't just rush all this stuff. So the actual law itself is there, and the penalties are great. We just got to get them through the court system.
But what if we had, like, you know, if you get, if we pick up dogs because of ill treatment or they've been fighting, you've got $1,000 fine or something, and you got to pay it then. Is that not, you can't do it?
No, ma'am. You have to go by what the state statute says needs to be done. You charge them, they go to bond court, they wait until their court date appears in general sessions and go from there.
How much are they charged when it's all over with? How much do they have to pay?
That's at discretion of the general sessions judge. what the penalty's gonna be. It could be probation, or it could be all the way up to a few years in jail. So that's all at discretion of the judge, ma'am.
They ought to all be put in jail. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Okay.
So Bob, just for clarification, I know you spoke with Aiken County and you said the number of employees that they have. They don't have this in place, but I guess if they were to put this in place, I think you had a conversation with the director. How feasible would it be with them having this large number of employees to enforce getting registrations, having registrations on all animals, et cetera? Would they be able to enforce it with these number of employees?
I did speak to the director, Bobby Arthurs, who's the director of the county. At the moment, he has 6 animal control officers, as I've said, and he can call in another 3 from code enforcement. And with that amount of officers, he tells me he could never enforce that in Aiken County. And I mean, he's got 12 full-time employees at the shelter, let alone on the road. This ordinance that we're looking at and comparing. I mean, they haven't. The city of Aiken don't even have a shelter. They give their animals to the SPCA, the same as what Kershaw County does. They've got an ASPCA, so their animal control pick up animals, and that's where they take them. I mean, if Fairfield had an ASPCA, I assume the smart thing to do would be contract out your animals, pay the SPCA a sum of money for taking the animals, because that seems to be what people seem to be doing. The only county that I found surrounding ours, and I've got a copy of 5 or 6 different ordinances here for each council member to look at. The only people that really enforce this is Richland County. But Richland County, I mean, their animal control budget is astronomical. I just want to touch upon Aiken County's animal control budget. When I asked him how much his budget was, he chuckled and he said, well over $1 million. I mean, if you gave Fairfield County Animal Control Director well over $1 million, I could enforce whatever you want if I can take the staff on. But I mean, to implement changes of this sort of nature, we would need far more staff. We would need a facility where we can take them, because we can't take them to an ASPCA somewhere because we haven't got one. At this very moment in time, we only have the use of a veterinarian for a morning a week. And the more animals you bring in, and the more that you want to register and get fixed, you need a vet. This county hasn't got any vets. We've got one vet that can spare 3 hours a week to fix our animals, and he does as many as he can in that time. Aiken County, the county, employs a vet for 30 hours a week. I know Aiken County's 300 square miles bigger than Fairfield, and there's more ground to cover, bigger population, etc. But I mean, if we want to progress, like I believe this county should, we need investment. Nothing's going to happen unless you do investment. You can change every law you want, but if you can't enforce them, it's pointless. I've seen animal abuse and neglect in this county go up over the last 2 years, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. The public do not care. Not all of them, but there's a big percentage don't, because we're picking them up daily. And every time we're picking more animals up, you notice more and more injuries, etc. People either can't afford it to take them to a vet, so they let them go. But the problem is, there is no vet. I mean, you know, it's a vicious circle. I mean, we need to attract a vet practice that's going to be open 5 days a week. Or you build a facility with a vet clinic in it, and the county employs a vet that does work for the public's animals, not just ours, and generate some money. Do it at a cheaper rate for the public so everyone gets a good deal. Like we all discussed 4 or 5 years ago. And today, 4 or 5 years down the road, that side of things we're still talking about. I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say.
Are you having trouble getting employees on account of the pay, or?
We've had an animal control officer position and a kennel worker position open since July of last year. I've really prayed that the 2 people, well, I've interviewed 4 or 5 people in the last week for them 2 positions, that I've actually found people for them 2 positions. And in the next the budget I've just put forward, or I've just submitted, I've asked for one of my temporary staff back. Because the temporary staff that we had did our weekend work, cleaning and feeding of the animals, because you still got to do it Saturday and Sunday, and they were cheap temporary staff. But I was told to get rid of my staff because they want to get rid of staff to do with temps, which is not cost saving because you have to have full-time people come in and do it. I explained that at the time, and they said, no, you've got to get rid of your temps. So you've got full-time animal control officers that never get a full weekend off because they have to work 5.5, 6 days a week. I mean, it's just such a... You don't realise how stressful this job is. You really don't. And when I have people come down and tell me all you need is a couple of windows put in a building, I don't even want to go into it because it's so frustrating, but and I want to keep my job.
Who told you to get rid of the temporaries?
Huh?
Who told you to get rid of the temporaries?
That was a decision made by a previous council that I'm aware of. Is that not true?
Wasn't here at the time.
Oh, you wasn't?
No.
But it was a previous
It's
council.
my understanding that the temp positions, from what I've been looking at, the temp positions were frozen along with some full-time positions in other areas as well. Oh, sorry. I was saying that I wasn't here at the time when that happened, but it's my understanding that from looking at some of the paperwork during this particular upcoming budget, that there were temp positions that were frozen and were not filled, along with some full-time positions as well that were frozen and they were not filled. So Mr. Carrison is correct about that.
How many temporary people do you need? Is it in your budget?
I've asked for one in this budget coming up.
One temporary?
Yeah,
How many full-time people did you request for?
none. The county hasn't got the money. I mean, we all love to implement great changes because, personally, I think they're needed. I think this, what the member of the public wanted to bring forward would be a great thing for this county. But we've got to get everything in order first. At the moment in this county, there is going to be 3 animal control officers to cover 710 square miles. That's how big this county is. Since July of last year, there's been 2 plus me, and I'm supposed to be doing my job. I mean, you know, we really need we do need to implement changes, but we need to get everything correct first. That's what I'm saying. You can make as many changes as you want, but if you can't implement them, you know. So, and I don't mean to come across as, you know, strong-headed about it, but when you deal with it every single day, and the staff that are tired out, and the amount of animals that we take in for the facility we've got, I mean, we've moved this county forward in 7 years from what it was, bringing in $6,000 a year with a euthanasia number that was up in the 65%, to bringing in, I don't know what my figures were last year, I think it was 280,000. There's a big difference. But no money's been put into the department. No investment whatsoever. I've spent $34,000 trying to improve what I've got down the road, and every dime of that's come from donations where the people want to help. I mean...
Excuse me, Mr. Roseberry.
Yeah, I got a question, Bob. Do you think because we're a no-kill shelter, that's having something to do with the overcrowding of the shelter? We are considered a no-kill shelter, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Do you have some dogs that's been up at the pound for 3 years or more?
No. I don't know where that came from. I was asked that by my boss. Mm-hmm. We have euthanised animals recently. We have for the last probably 4 or 5 weeks. Animals that are dangerous, not adoptable. The animals down at the shelter at this very moment in time are all perfectly good dogs that are adoptable. You know, the county wanted to become a no-kill, what they class a no-kill, because supposedly every county shelter belongs to no-kill South Carolina. So Fairfield County wanted to do it.
Was that something that the council voted on, or was that a decision that the director made?
It did go before the county council with Jason Taylor and David Sanderson at the time, and I think it was 2016. That sort of 2017 it was. And it did go before the county council.
Okay, and the county council voted on the shelter being a no-kill shelter?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
What, Mr. Dennis, what is the oldest animal, or not the oldest animal, but the longest kept animal that you have?
At the moment?
At the moment.
Probably 7 months.
What's the longest that you've had over the period of time that you've been there?
Probably 12 months, something like that.
Okay.
That got adopted.
Okay. Ms. Johnson, I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson, how long do we need to end this meeting before it's about almost 1:45?
Yes, sir. So we can schedule another meeting to come back and Mr. Ennis pass out the information that you have, and basically digest everything that's been said and come back next time to have further discussion and possibly some recommendations.
Okay. So I don't know, our next council meeting is April 24th, I believe.
Yes.
And then after that is May the 3rd for a budget meeting. So if would y'all want to think about one of those two or possibly both, which would be better for a 5 o'clock meeting?
5 o'clock's not gonna get it. We're gonna have to have 2 or 3 hours. You
I mean,
know,
If you're going to have them before those two particular sessions, then our meetings would have to be basically 45 minutes. So to prepare to get ready
you wanna
for
say-
a budget work session, and also, well, the 24th is a council meeting, and then May 3rd is a budget work session. So either, I don't know if everyone can make it earlier than 5.
Can we
but
not meet
if
at
not,
3?
Another meeting,
I
another
can't.
meeting date.
You cannot ever get here before 5.
I said 3.
But
Not at 3.
I know you're saying you can't come at 3. Can you come at 4?
No, the earliest I can come is 5 during the week.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to
Well-
have a 5 o'clock meeting when there's no other meeting going on. And let's get this hashed out. We might be here
Well, we
till
can,
10.
I mean, I think we can try another one on the, if the 24th, we can try another one, and if we have to have a longer one, we can.
Yeah, that's fine for me. That's fine.
So, y'all think about the 24th before the next council meeting at 5. If you want to do that, let me know, and
We're fine with the 24th at 5, and you're okay with it?
Yep.
So
is
yes.
that good? Okay. Okay. Well, Bob and Chris, I appreciate y'all being here tonight for sure, and everybody else. Now, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Is a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Approved, 3-0.